Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all having a great day and that you are all doing well. Before we begin, I'd like to give an exclusive, very special thank you to my Patreon supporters. They are Brady Niels and Professor Wally from Gunbot University. Thank you very much. You have an ocean of my eternal appreciation. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. Ethereum has finally successfully implemented all proposed improvements during the Constantinople hard fork, which was achieved at block height 7.8 million. The effects of the mostly invisible upgrade, except for the upgrade on mining based on the Ethereum Improvement Protocol or proposal EIP 1234. The block reward has already fallen to 2 Ether from 3 where it previously was, which will likely affect mining activity. Additionally, the difficulty bomb saw another 12-month delay. The drop in reward and the increased difficulty have led to around a 25% loss of hashing power on the Ethereum network since the end of January. Several other EIPs were implemented, including EIP 145 for cheaper bitwise operations, EIP 1014 offering scalability through off-chain transactions, and EIP 1052 optimizing large-scale code executions for smart contracts. EIP 1283, which targets optimized gas use for smart contracts, has been delayed for now. The reason for the removal of this proposal was the discovery of the critical bug, which led to the delay in Constantinople from the initial deadline of the 16th of January. They could not, and I mean logically, they could not delay this any further. This is already around, not 2 years late, but around a good 1 year and 11 and a half months late. It's finally happened. Thank goodness. We can officially move forward from this topic. All we have to really scrutinize Ethereum about now is getting Casper and Plasma running up on the network. Still no news, obviously, as to when this is going to happen, but this is nice to. It's nice that so far 2019 has been a bit of a wow, that finally happened kind of year, with things, finally getting listed or finally getting implemented or finally getting upgraded or finally hard forking, whatever the case might be. Also, very good news. I'm also very happy that there was no major news of anyone talking about that they didn't like Constantinople. They were going to fork Ethereum to create their own new Ethereum because this was going to be the real Ethereum, because every single time that Bitcoin has a hard fork or something like that, someone decides to create a new token. I'm very glad that doesn't happen often for Ethereum. There are a couple of Ethereum clones out there, but luckily they don't usually make the news. So I guess the major news now is that the Ethereum mining reward has fallen from 3 to 2, where it currently is now, and the difficulty time bomb, or the Ethereum Ice Age, has been delayed for another 12 months. Hopefully within that 12 months, we actually get Plasma and everything else on top of Ethereum, but as of now, it has finally happened. And let's move on. Sorry about that. Just to kind of breezily talk about this for a couple of seconds. Around the world, regardless of, or rather, maybe because of current economic strife and activity and things that are happening around the world, we're seeing a lot of news. Okay, normally in 2017, this was a news story. In maybe the first half of 2018, this also wasn't really spoken about that much. But for some reason, as regulators have push their thumb a bit deeper than they probably should have. A lot of countries around the world that, not that they don't do well economically, is that where crypto regulations might not have been the friendliest, are seeing a huge push up in as far as like spikes of people who are starting to use local Bitcoins, which is, if you've never used it before, it's pretty much like an app. You can find people in your area and say, hey, do you have Bitcoin? And then you say, hey, I have cash. And you guys meet up together and you actually hand them the cash and they digitally send you the Bitcoin. If you have never used this, or if you have used this, or if you plan on using this, or if you are going to continue to use this, please be careful. There have been a number of robberies and stuff like that. There was one, I think, in Norway or Sweden couple of months ago. I mean, logically, if you're trying to buy larger amounts of cryptocurrencies, please try to do so through a trusted exchange, and maybe don't go outside with $5,000 cash trying to buy cryptocurrencies because, right. So it says the peer-to-peer market saw a surge in activity this past week, with the local Bitcoin market on 5 countries posting record volume. The largest spikes were concentrated in the Latin America and Asian regions. However, the United States also posted its strongest monthly P2P volume since April 2018. The trading volume in Indonesia rose by more than 10x in just 1 week. I'm not going to read through all the little stipulations because a lot of times it just shows like the money amount, and then, you can kind of 10x that in your head. South Korea is up 125%, which is absolutely insane because South Korea hasn't really been, what's the word? While their government has not been friendly, everything is still relatively legal within the country. I mean, you never really know why someone does what they do when it comes to cryptocurrencies, or where they're trading, where they're buying, why there's, why they're not doing it on certain exchanges. Everyone has their own thing, but it's just very weird to notice that these huge tick ups, like, because normally in 2000, like, people were using local Bitcoins in 2017. It was just it's been there for quite some time, so people are going to use it. But for some reason, we're seeing a major spike in different places around the world who are now like dramatically trying their hardest to jump into it. The P2P markets of Latin America saw a dramatic spike in volume this past week, with several countries posting all-time high trading activity. Local Bitcoins trade between the Peruvian sol and Bitcoin posted record volume that measured in both fiat and crypto. It came to around 303 Bitcoin, or around 3.56 million pen, around $1 million, give or take, worth of trade taking place. And these numbers might not seem significant, but you have to... so I was reading an article yesterday. Was it a book? I was in a bookstore, and then I was reading magazines, and I don't remember exactly what it was. And they were talking about... what was it? It was something. My eyes read something, and it was talking about why cryptocurrencies are so important in Latin America, and also why it's very important in Africa, and why this further like solidifies why I think that certain cryptocurrency companies are doing a very smart thing when they target these, not networks, this market. Apparently, it's kind of insane. Of all the people living in Latin America or South America, depending on how you want to classify it, apparently around 60% of people living in South America have no access to banks. 60%, and it comes out to around 600 million people, roughly estimating around. That's an enormous amount of people to not have bank accounts, who banks are never going to really open up in their area. Like, there's probably not going to be a huge rush, because typically what we've seen is that in these countries that don't have as much economic prosperity as other countries, banks tend to stay away. I know people like, banks love poor people because they can kind of get money from them, but when you're in like not doing too well at all, banks will not even open up a spot near you. So this is why cryptocurrencies are very important. And when I constantly talk about where cryptos are going to take the world, it kind of always usually comes down to these countries, because we've seen before in many other instances, it's kind of odd. One would assume that Europe and North America would be the dominant players in the cryptocurrency space, but what we typically see is that it's South America, parts of Africa, and also sections of Asia that tend to be very influential on the cryptocurrency markets, especially as far as like price movement and stuff like that. Anyway, just thought I'd touch on this at least for a bit. It's quite interesting to see, and I'm happy that these things are actually happening. I hope that these people are safe. Like, I really mean that, because I've read some stories. But the fact that these people now have a way to be able to get cryptocurrency, and more so, especially when it comes down to like hyperinflation and stuff like that, which is really, really bad. If you've been paying attention to the news, let's say the last 3 weeks, somewhere around that time frame, you may have noticed people like from the Fed and stuff like that, or like other like very prominent analysts, like people who are like 80 years old and have been in the game since they were like 20, and they know economic policies front and back. They're all announcing that they are certain that the stock market is going to have a very lengthy tumble sometime this year, or the very beginning of next year. And this is going to be detrimental to world markets. I was going to say around the world, but I just said the word world. So this is something that I hope remains beneficial to these people in these countries, but also if enough people in these countries can get into it, and we do see the stock market begin to crumble and fall apart, because it's very rare that you would hear people from the federal government talking about that the economy is not going to fare very well. So hopefully, I guess the way to end it off is that if enough people in these countries can even have fractions of Bitcoin, like we were talking about the other day, $11 of Bitcoin, and the price should go up, then they will do very well economically. Anyway, this is an entire 3-hour long topic, but yeah, let's move on. The Thailand Securities and Exchange Commission has issued an abridged list of digital currencies that are deemed compliant with the nation's legal framework to be used as base pairs and funding for ICOs. Thailand Security and Exchange Commission, or the SEC, limited the list of digital assets eligible for ICO funding. In a statement issued this Thursday, the regulator approved a list of only 4 digital assets. They were Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, and Lumens. The regulator still underlined the fact that these assets were not considered legal tender in the country. I need speech therapy or something like that, which I did take when I was younger. Not that you need to know that. The decision of Thailand Security and Exchange Commission's unravels a previous decision that allowed the usage of Litecoin, Ethereum Classic, and Bitcoin Cash as additional altcoins for ICO funding. The regulator does not reveal the details behind the exclusion of the assets, except for noting that in the past month, no ICOs have been issued in the country that use LTC, ETC, or BCH for fundraising as base pairs. Moreover, Bitcoin Cash saw troubles around its hard fork last November, which led to additional price volatility. As for Ethereum Classic, its additional risk comes from the possibility for network attacks and double spending. We saw that there was a 51% attack on the ETC network a couple of months ago. You can say no, that didn't happen. Google and the rest of the world will definitely disagree. And I guess their reasoning for not allowing Bitcoin Cash, which they shouldn't be allowing anyway, is probably because of the dramatic price drop when it gave birth to Satoshi's vision. This outlines exactly what I usually talk about and what I say and what I'm going to continue to stress until we get proper clarification on everything by the end of this year. This is not the first time that a country has done something like this. It's not just Thailand. There are many other countries around the world who have been unfriendly to cryptocurrencies, and the ones that they have allowed or are allowing within their country for certain activities typically falls within the range of not even lumens. It's usually Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, and Litecoin. So Litecoin not being allowed is kind of a weird decision, but when I talk about the coins that should, in my opinion, be focused on, it typically comes down to very few coins because governments are starting to restrict exactly which coins can be allowed. Was it the Philippines? I can't remember which other country just announced something like 2 weeks ago where they were also only allowing Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP. I think it was Litecoin, and maybe EOS. EOS sounds kind of weird, but it was definitely like a random fifth coin that you don't typically hear about. But just something to keep in mind as we move further into this month especially. And we hopefully should maybe potentially, arms in the air, be hearing about something maybe from the New York Stock Exchange and or the NASDAQ as to exactly which coins they're going to be supporting, or even Fidelity. That's when stuff for me is going to start kicking off a little bit more, because I feel like they're going to almost not mimic each other, but I like the phrase, the winners will be chosen. A lot of people disagree with me and they say that their coin is going to be the winner. Just trying to put that out there. Yeah. So anyway, let's move on. Next up, Binance is in the news. To stimulate awareness about the inner workings of the recently launched Binance DEX, the team at the exchange have decided to sponsor a simulated trading competition on the live testnet. All users, that is everyone who holds at least one Binance coin on the regular Binance.com, are eligible to participate and can register a maximum of 20 Binance chain addresses. All who qualify will also receive 20 virtual testnet BNB tokens allocated to each address. These tokens will be used before the trading competition begins. Binance CEO Changpeng Zhao tweeted about this. Here's the photo. He said, to test the heck out of the Binance DEX, we are giving away roughly 100,000 US dollars equivalent in real Binance tokens as a reward for our testnet trading competition. You have nothing to lose. Come and join the fun and help us launch the mainnet faster. The simulated trading competition will run from the 7th of March at 8 in the morning UTC till the 21st of the same month at 8 a.m. UTC. All data on the Binance Chain testnet will be reset before the competition begins. All existing balances will be cleared to pave the way to the competition to begin. Crypto enthusiasts will be able to issue and list tokens on the Binance Chain testnet during the competition period. Addresses to own the tokens will be ranked in terms of the sum of each token's price volatility over every 5 minutes interval and traded against BNB. The top 3 traders will be awarded as follows. The first place will get 3,000 Binance tokens, second 2,000, and third place will get 1,000. If you are a trader, if you like to trade, or if you simply would like to stress test the Binance decentralized exchange testnet, please feel free to do so. I'm pretty sure that they're trying to get as many people as possible to be able to do this because what I've seen before with other decentralized exchanges is that they did not work very well as when they had like 300 people on them. So I assume that they want as many people as possible. This is why it says it is open to every single person who has at least one BNB to be able to test this. Because if nothing else, I mean, it kind of moves and helps the crypto space to kind of go forward, because if we can get a good, 10, 15, 25,000 people who are using this network at the exact same time, transferring multiple currencies back and forth, we could see exactly how strong their decentralized exchange is, because as of, it's still the test net, so no one really knows for certain. Anyway, let's move on. Just something to kind of end the video with. I thought this was, and it's something I previously mentioned for half a second, but it appears that it is actually something that's happening behind the scenes. It pretty much, without reading too much, I'll read the first paragraph and I'll kind of go through it. It says, in recent months, stable coins, which are digital assets pegged to the value of fiat currencies like the US dollar, have exploded in size and variety thanks to the high-profile offerings from companies like Circle, Paxos, and Gemini. Even traditional banks are joining the action, with JP Morgan recently announcing its own stablecoin-like product called JPM Coin. We also have news about Facebook launching their own stablecoin. It says, thus far, stablecoins have largely avoided public scrutiny and criticism from agencies like the SEC and the CFTC, the Commodities Futures Trading Commission, which have focused their attention on the many issues arising out of the 2017 ICO bubble. Yet, as stablecoins see greater capital inflows and industry adoption, the SEC and CFTC will likely take a harder look at their compliance status. They talk about exactly what's going on with them, how people are planning on using them, and once again, this slight tug of war that we don't really see happening, but is actually currently taking place, where the SEC believes that they should have control over them because under their eyes, it says it's somewhere around here. It says somewhere in the SEC's eyes, because they're being issued by a company and you can some way profit from it, the SEC believes that therefore, yeah, here we go. Given how stablecoins are redeemed, meaning you can reissue them back to the person who you got them from, who created them, the SEC might characterize them as demand notes, which are traditionally defined as two-party negotiable instruments obligating a debtor to pay the note holder at any time upon request. For its part, the CFTC might take the position that stablecoins are known as swaps under the Commodity Exchange Section Act of 1A47A. That provision defines swaps to include an option of any kind that is for the purchase or sale or based on value of more or one interest of other rates, currencies, commodities, or other financial or economic interests or property of any kind. I don't know. I can't even begin to imagine what they could possibly be considered at this point. I figured there would be some type of a tug of war. I wonder how this is going to end for stablecoins. And once again, I don't use stablecoins myself. I don't really find a major reason for them. However, for the people who do, look to the sky. And by the sky, I mean the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ. And maybe to a lesser extent Fidelity, but I doubt that Fidelity will have a custody service for stable coins. to see exactly which ones are going to kind of make it, because I have a very strong feeling. If you realize, remember a couple of months ago when the Gemini coin Gust first launched and the Gemini twins announced on TV, they say, yeah, we're releasing our token because ours is compliant. We've gone through the loops and the hurdles and the so and so and so. And they mentioned several other coins that have not gone through these loops and hurdles, and therefore they and their lawyers already deem these coins to be non-compliant or securities or illegal in some sort of fashion. I don't know, just a lot going on. I wonder where crypto would be without the SEC or the CFTC. I have a feeling we'd definitely be in all-time highs, but it would probably be a complete mess, as we would have at least over 10,000 different coins right now. Anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting because it's something you don't really think about that often, but when you're pegging yourself to a fiat currency, there might be some paperwork that kind of has to be filed. To kind of finish things off, the market is moving sideways, barely moving at all. You can barely even tell that it's actually even moving. Bitcoin is down 0.25%. The market's not really moving. EOS, for some reason, it's never really in the news, but it always has like movements up, and I'm not sure if that's just optimism from the market, but there's always a bit of it's always higher up than every other coin as things are kind of moving. Litecoin is also up for some reason. Binance coin, we had news a couple of days ago that Binance coin passed by $10, and there's no sign of it stopping. I am very curious to see if Binance coin, I have a feeling it will. I was going to say if Binance coin could pass $150 by the next bull run. I think that's a big certainty. If Binance coin goes over $1,000, I'll have to reevaluate my life, because that'll be just completely insane. I mean, to be fair, Binance coin was number 11 just a couple of days ago. SV is finally not in the top 10 anymore. I'll even take Tron in the top 10 just to push out SV. I'm hoping that Cardano, or the people who are into Cardano, kind of get it together so we can knock that one up a little bit more as well. Anyway, that's my own bias. I think that's going to do it for this video. I hope you all are having a great day, a great morning, a great afternoon, or great evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching and or listening. And as always, a very special thank you to my Patreon supporters. They are Vlad the Impaler, Gil Boa Snake, Rai, Brady Niels, L Doug, Arthur Yaku, Professor Wally from Gunbot University, Nick Mangialavorti, Travis Haynes, Yasha Harari, Anthony Charles, Nick Kanaya, singer-songwriter Mike Savitz, Wise Night Owl, Joey Carafa, Jaleel Dowdy, Crypto Joe, Jim Gardner, Jared Schneider, Jeremy Fox, Amy Starsheen, Richie Rich III, and Jeffrey Ramsey. Thank you all very much for your generosity. I do appreciate it more than you could possibly begin to imagine. And yeah, I'll talk to you all soon. See you.